For me, it's my favourite thing to do. I've always wanted to go to an Olympics. Even when I was younger, I remember watching it, and I wanted to go as a swimmer, but I wasn't quite good enough to get there as a swimmer. And so it was always a massive aim for me. My first Olympics was 2008 in Beijing, and then when I found out that the Olympics was going to be in London in 2012, it was obviously, that was my entire focus, and it's what I've been aiming for the last few years.
If you could choose one thing about London 2012 that was your absolute highlight, what would it be?
Yeah, we have crowds at races, but nothing. I've never heard anything like the crowd in London. It was there was one, the course was all quite wide everywhere, which is great, allows for good racing. But there's one part of the run where there were crowds on both sides and the road was a little bit narrow, and we actually ran down and everyone was banging on the boards and just shouting my name. And I got goosebumps when I ran through there the first time. It was unbelievable. Normally when you're running, you can hear your feet, you can hear the breathing, you can hear your competitors around you, because you can tell how tired they are by how they're breathing. But all you could hear was noise. It was just, and there was one part where we ran across the Serpentine Bridge, so we came out of past transition, we can't turn left, and there was no crowds on there, and it was almost like deafeningly quiet. It was just this one patch, and then you'd run into the crowd and it'd just be this noise again. I think for me that was one of the highlights, actually, how much support we had there. I mean, you obviously don't write out a plan for every week and every day for 4 years, so the main goal will be Rio. The goal before that will probably be the Commonwealth Games, and they're in Glasgow in 2014, so that'll be another one. But then you sort of fill in between kind of the small goals on the way. From day to day it varies. Some days, and it's one of the things again I love about triathlon, it does vary. So some days it'll be kind of 3 hours training, but then some days it goes up to kind of 6 to 8 hours training. The advice for I think any athlete is to have sort of a goal, to know what you're training for. That's one of the unique things about triathlon is we have 3 sports, but they're continuous. So you have like heptathlon, like Jessica Ennis does, but they take the time in between events, and then do the next one. We just go straight through. So transition, we almost call it like the 4th discipline. So you mess up your transition, then you can lose the race. So our season runs from about April to September, and there's about 8 big races part of the World Champ Series. So we accumulate points through the year in those races, a bit like Formula One, where the World Championships like decided by accumulating points. Distances, we do a 1,500 metre swim, a 40 kilometre bike, and a 10k run, and it takes about 2 hours for the women, and the men are normally about 10 minutes quicker than that. In those last 2 days I'll do 2 runs, 1 bike and 1 swim, but they're all a lot shorter than normal. But it's important not to do like too much easy training. You need to keep a little bit of intensity in there, a little bit of hard stuff, almost to keep the body awake, to keep the muscles awake, so you know what to do. And the athlete's always out there, like, either crossing the line first and getting the glory or whatever, but there's always so many people that help me or any athlete to get to that point. And so there's always, there's almost like 10 people there that have helped me like every step of the way to get there. It's important to have a balance of both, and sport can take over your life, especially if you're having success in it. It's because all you focus on in school is just the other stuff to do. But it's important to balance everything. I did GCSEs and A levels, and I actually I took a break after A levels because I trained all through school, doing my triathlon. I just started, and I really was aiming for the World Championships. It was kind of the year after I left school, so I was aiming to get to that. So I took a year off, and I was going to start uni the year after. But I ended up starting earning money doing triathlon, so I haven't actually gone back to uni yet. But so that's probably the ideal example. But there's a plan for me to always go back and do that. But I do wish I'd focused more on school when I was doing my A-levels, because when I got my results, I knew I could have done better, and those extra few training sessions I didn't make a difference to me being here today and going to the Olympics. It didn't make a difference in the long run, but it probably would have made a difference to my school. So I'd say getting the balance is right. It's hard to do, but it's important to try to do both well.